What if I told you one narrow passage of water controls a huge part of the global economy? This is the Strait of Hormuz, a small but extremely important waterway located between Iran and Oman, connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But in reality, it is one of the most strategically important places on Earth. Why? Because this is the only major route through which oil from Gulf countries reaches the rest of the world. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar depend heavily on this single passage. Every day, nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through here. Now imagine, if this route is blocked, oil supply drops instantly, prices rise globally, transport becomes expensive, food prices increase, and economies around the world begin to feel the pressure. But here's where things get even more interesting. Iran is located along the northern edge of this strait. This gives it a powerful strategic position. While Iran does not fully own the strait, it has the ability to influence it. Through its military presence, naval forces, and geographic advantage, it can threaten or disrupt shipping routes. And here's the key point. Iran doesn't need to completely block the strait to create chaos. Even the possibility of disruption is enough to shake global markets. Now you might ask, why hasn't Iran fully controlled or closed it before? The answer is simple. Because closing the Strait of Hormuz would not only harm other countries, it would also damage Iran itself. Iran also relies on this route for its own exports. And more importantly, blocking it would trigger a massive international response, especially from the United States and its allies. Which brings us to the next question. Can the United States take control of the strait? The U.S. has one of the most powerful navies in the world and maintains a strong presence in the region. It can protect shipping routes and respond to threats, but it cannot completely own the strait. Why? Because it lies in international waters, and any attempt to control it fully would lead to serious global conflict. Now, another important question. Why can't the world simply avoid this route? The reality is, there are very few alternatives. Some pipelines exist that bypass the strait, but they can only carry a limited amount of oil. They are not capable of replacing the massive volume that passes through Hormuz daily. So the world remains heavily dependent on this single choke point. You might also wonder, why doesn't the U.S. just get oil from somewhere else, like Russia? The answer is more complex than it seems. Oil markets are global. Even if the U.S. produces its own oil, prices are affected by global supply. Russia does have large oil reserves, but political tensions, sanctions, and pricing strategies limit its role in global supply chains. And many countries, especially in Asia, rely heavily on Middle Eastern oil, not Russian oil, which means the Strait of Hormuz remains critical. In the end, this is not just a waterway, it is a pressure point of the global system, a place where geography, politics, and economics come together. Small in size, but massive in impact. And the reality is, as long as the world depends on oil, this narrow passage will continue to quietly influence the entire planet.